And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on air host, Sarah DeVello, and I'm so excited to welcome back one of my favorite authors and people, Alma Katsu, here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new red hot book, Red London, a most anticipated book of the year by Crime Reads, Book Page, and so many more with starred reviews all over the place. The praise is blowing up. Alma, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about Red London.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's Lindsay Duncan is back. She was in the first book, Red Widow. She's a young CIA officer, and here Lindsay is tasked by CIA and MI6 to try to flip the British wife of a Russian oligarch. In this scenario, Putin is no longer with us. He has mysteriously disappeared, and there's a new Russian president in town, and nobody really knows a lot about him. And he says the right things, but MI6 and CIA don't trust him. And so they don't want the oligarch's billions to get in his hands. So the race is on. Can Lindsay get the money from and save us from World War III?
Save us from World War III. And just like that, Alma Katsu hooks us good the way that only CIA analyst turned thriller writer Alma Katsu can. We've got so much to talk about. Oh my God, I have so many questions. But first, I just want to welcome everyone. So we are broadcasting live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So it is Mystery Monday. And because Mondays can be murder, we're here to make them a little less painful for you. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you, mystery loving friends. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Alma about Lindsay Cameron. Ask her about Red London. Ask her about her time in the CIA. And Lindsay's time in the CIA. Is Lindsay Alma? We need to know. Just get those questions going in the comments and we'll get them right over to her. Mike, welcome to the conversation. He says, I'm going to watch later after work. This is on some major hype lists. Mike, we will be queuing up your questions and thanks for watching later. Lots of people joining us later. No worries at all. You watch when you can. Sherry, welcome to the conversation. Alma, she wants to know, does this one work as a standalone or do you need to have read Red Widow first?
That is a great question. No, you actually could start with this book. It's practically a standalone. Some of the other characters, a few of the other characters kind of make cameo appearances, but really the only one that carries over is Lindsay, and everything is sort of explained that you need to know. So great question. And maybe I shouldn't mention this yet. We are in talks with studios for a TV series, and they're thinking of starting it with Red London. So you absolutely can start with Red London.
Oh my gosh, Alma, thank you for spilling the tea and letting us in on this exciting news. I can absolutely see this as an ongoing series. It is, I mean, you write so visually, which I love because I'm such a visual reader. And I can totally picture, Billionaires Row, where Emily Rottenberg and her husband Mikhail, are living the high life. I could see Lindsay in her little, apartment. I could see the, infiltrating their life. I can see it all, and I am here for it. Megan McClendon would like to know, Alma, what inspired you to start writing? Yeah, because you started off at the CIA. How the heck did you get over here?
Well, like a lot of writers growing up, I was one of those introverted kids that was always reading, right? And so I thought from an early age I would become a writer. And I actually only interviewed to get a job in the intelligence community just for the experience of doing it, just to do something different. And I was kind of surprised when they offered me the job. And I didn't think I'd stay very long, but I had an entire career in intelligence. And I actually worked at several agencies. I worked in policy. I briefed Congress. I've been in the West Wing, all that fun stuff. So it's an incredible career. I would recommend it to anybody, but I'm really grateful to have this chance, towards the end of my life. No, not quite that old, but after having all those other experiences to get to write novels, which is what I started out wanting to do.
Oh, I didn't know that about you, Alma. That's so cool. And it's fabulous. It's so fascinating to know that you know that you interviewed with in the intelligence world to get just to see, because I feel like that experience enriches your writing so much. Like one of the things I think I was most surprised about, I love to read books where the author has real life experience, because it enriches it, it deepens it. You know that everything they're writing about is true and informed. And I think one of the things I was shocked about was when I read the first book in the series, Red Widow, was that how not fancy their offices are. I thought they would have these fancy 25th floor, swanky, expensive furniture offices, and I was shocked at how
Yeah.
institutional and old and run down. It just wasn't fancy. And I was
Yeah.
also shocked by how much paperwork and kind of how boring it can be day to day, even though you're doing this really cool spy stuff.
It is, and that's probably the one thing that would shock most people if they could come in and shadow us for a day and see what it was like. It's a bureaucracy and we're beholden to the taxpayers. So, they have a really good chain of command on everything, right? What you do and how you spend your day and how money is spent and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there is a lot of bureaucracy. I mean, there's really interesting parts too, of course. But it isn't exactly like what you see in TV and movies. Yeah.
And that's what I love about reading your books, is that that the experience that you're sharing with us is a real one, informed by real world experience. Megan saying the real life experience makes books like this so much better because the details are authentic. Megan, exactly. You and I were vibing. That's what makes it so great. Like, that when you're reading, Red London, Red Widow, when you're reading any of Alma's books, that she's the real deal, and she's going to give us the skinny, which I absolutely love. Lynn, welcome. Oh, go ahead. No, Alma. No.
Oh,
Go ahead. Tell us.
I was just going to say, it's kind of funny, when Red Widow first came out, one thing that was really heartening was I got a lot of emails and notes from all other retired CIA people saying just how realistic it was. I mean, because it's exactly like how our day starts, what the halls are like, what the banter is like, what the atmosphere and the culture is like. I have to say that for me, they're very easy books to write because it's just second nature. Although I did retire a few years ago, I guess at some point it's going to seem a little more distant to me.
Do you ever go back and visit Alma? Are you ever,
Uh,
keep yourself fresh? Say hello to your CIA friends.
well, it is the kind of place that you can't just walk into, but um, I do consult back for the government on occasion. I'll say that.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Very cool. Lynn, welcome to the conversation. Lynn says this sounds like such a great potential series. Congratulations on that
Thank you.
exciting news. Sherry saying congrats on the possible TV series. Oh my God, we need to see Lindsay Cameron on TV. Come through, Netflix. Come through. Um, Okay, already got that one. Thank you. So, Alma, let's talk about some of the amazing praise that this book has earned, because, as Mike pointed out, your book is on so many most anticipated reads of the year, crime reads, most anticipated crime fiction of 2023, book page, most anticipated mystery and suspense of 2023, book list, awarding you a starred review. And you know what? I'm going to pop this one up so that we can all read this praise together. And they rate. I'm going to embarrass you.
So nice.
The saying Katsu's second book in this taut spy series is even better than the first, with the requisite suspense driving the twist-laden plot, starring an outstanding multi-dimensional protagonist. And again, they awarded your excellent work a starred review. Congratulations on that, Alma.
Thanks. So I'm so grateful.
You earned that, though. You earned that. Your great work earned that. Let's talk about what's the secret to writing a taut spy series. What's the secret to, they praised your ability to build suspense and drive that plot forward. How do you do it? What's the secret?
It's funny. Well, so for this book, I actually had gone through a couple proposals with my publisher before we settled on this one. And so I have to give them a lot of credit. They really saw the potential there. And, they may have picked it for other reasons too. I mean, one is we wanted a story that would really appeal to female readers. Females are not traditionally big consumers of spy novels. It tends to be one of the few male dominated categories. Yeah. So, but I wanted to talk about what the intelligence business is like for women who work in it today. And I would think that would appeal to women. So this was especially written to maybe tempt over women who like to read, say, true crime or domestic suspense, because half of the story is from the British aristocrat who is married to the oligarch. It's from her point of view. And so, it's meant to draw you in, right? I mean, I love Emily. She was fascinating to write. She's very deep. She's not what you think she is. And that's part of what makes stories taut, right? You peel the onion back on your characters and you see their behavior is driven by something very specific, something in them, right? That maybe you weren't aware of. And so, that helps you put a lot of surprises in there too. All my books tend to be character-driven books, not necessarily plot-driven books.
Ooh, I love that. Well, I am actually shocked to hear that that women don't that's not a traditional area of female readers. That's so interesting to me. Because I love spy thrillers and I love your books. And also, as you said, I love true crime. I am reporting true crime loving female reader here, reporting for duty. I am a murderino. I love podcasts. I love the documentaries. I've been reading, I've been watching the Murdaugh Murders documentary on Netflix. I mean, I am fascinated by it. And so I think that's what I love about your books, is knowing that you were, a CIA analyst, reading that enriched real life experience is just so fascinating.
Well, I do try to show what's really there, right? I mean, not all books, spy books, but some of them, tend to be just emphasis on the action, right? It's a guy with a gun and he's chasing the bad guy all over town or all over the world. And I know there's audiences that like that, but I was hoping in my stories to bring a little bit more of what it's really like. It's not often actually chasing guys with a gun, through the marketplace. It's, if you do it right, they won't even know you were there, right? It's all about clandestine operations. So there's a lot of that in Red London, showing she's undercover and showing how you operate undercover in another country.
Yes. So let's talk about that. And I see so many great questions pouring in, and we're going to get to every single one of them. So, one of the things that I loved about Red London, same as Red Widow, multiple points of view, the two women back and forth. But this one, instead of two CIA employees, which was very cool in the first book, Red Widow, now we are inside the mind, the life, the reality of the target of the woman that Lindsay is trying to infiltrate her life, become her friend. So two things I noticed right off the bat. One, the mental machinations that Lindsay has to go through to get herself in that mindset and what not to think about so that it doesn't contaminate her performance as Emily's new friend, and then not breaking character when she's, there with Emily and in the house, and then with the kids, when she infiltrates, she doesn't want to critique the parenting because that would give her away. I was like, I was reading, this is me eating my popcorn and reading. I was like, I am here for every detail. And then seeing Emily, because I actually realized I've never once given a thought to who Russian oligarchs marry and why these women would marry these guys who, as Emily references, she knew he was evil. Why would someone like this marry a man who has done some bad stuff? And what are they like? So I love seeing Emily.
Yeah, I mean, you make some assumptions about a woman who marries an oligarch, right? Because first of all, whether maybe you know this already, maybe you don't, but most of the oligarchs are not like outstanding businessmen, and that's why they their ranks. A lot of them came into power when the Soviet Union dissolved, and they kind of stole a lot of state resources and privatized them. Also, the KGB funneled money to them. So that's why there's such a close bond between the internal security in Russia and oligarchs, why they're under Putin's thumb. So, they're not good guys. And so, in my research, you see that most of the oligarchs marry Russians. So I thought this was a particularly interesting case because the wife, being British, especially after the things that have happened the last few years in England, of course, with the Russia's invasion of Ukraine, really brought things to a head for the British government. Here they had allowed for 20 years all of these foreigners, but a lot of them are Russian, into the country. And now, the two countries were definitely at loggerheads in terms of what, their view of the world. But before that, in 2018, you may remember the Sergei Skripal poisoning, where Russian agents actually went into Russia and tried to poison a Russian mole. He had been Russian intelligence. He spied for Britain, but he managed to get out of the country. He was living undercover in the UK, and the Russians were brazen enough to send agents there to poison him. And these were all wake-up calls for England, what they did by allowing this sort of new class of millionaire from Russia. And we can talk about that if you want to too. I'm kind of a history person, so I always have that background. But it was, it just seemed like such a delicious thing to investigate, given what's going on in the world today. And it was just a fun premise to put together. And yeah, I mean, as you can probably imagine, I wouldn't be a big fan of an oligarch's wife. So it was a challenge to me to make her such a well-rounded character and not just this sort of stereotype gold digger.
Right. And you do that so well. I mean, from the first scene where it opens with this crazy action, this, this infiltration, the bad guys are coming. I mean, I actually had to close the book and like take 3 deep breaths. I had to tap into my yoga, like, whew, this is getting a little too intense for me. Cause then I found myself skipping ahead a few pages. Like, is Emily going to live? I didn't know. And so, you throw us right into the action. And then I started wondering, as Lynn is saying right now, who the heck is Emily and why would she marry this guy? And that's something you really wanted to explore. You're telling us now.
I don't know if I should say too much now because I don't want
this was important to share why someone would find someone, especially someone who's not born into the Russian system of, state-driven news, brainwashing, where you're not giving access to full and, open information. So someone who is growing up in a democratic country yet finds herself, has actively chosen this life. So Lynn, I promise you, Alma explains that and shares that.
Yeah.
And that is a great question.
Yeah. I can give a little taste. And that is, these guys aren't just like walking around like, comic book gangsters, with like you see in some of the commercials. I love the one I can't remember who, it might've been Doritos or something. We're showing this Russian oligarch, in a gold-plated house, and he was buying miniature giraffes, like live giraffes and things like that. It's really not like that. A lot of these guys have been in the country for at least 10 years, and they've really dug themselves into English society. So they're on boards of, prominent companies. They're leading charities, they're, all that kind of stuff. They're donating a lot of money into the British government. So they're in these funny positions where they're, people kind of know that there's probably something shady about them, but they've created this facade of legality and respectability. And that's what people will openly respond to. And that's their excuse for dealing with the criminal. So the fact that he's kind of this, rich, powerful man appeals to Emily, but for a reason that is not apparent. When you read the book, you'll learn more about her backstory and why she's like this. And it's really that she's a little damaged.
Alma, thank you for that backstory and for that and for that peek into this. Again, knowing that you experience in this research is so wonderful. And y'all, I want to remind you, this book is not even out yet. Alma is coming on today as a very special pre-launch Q&A, and I am thrilled to share that through my partner in crime, pun intended, Murder by the Books, we can offer you today signed books, which is such a cool thing to be able to offer. So you can pre-order a signed copy of Red London today, and Alma will have signed it for you, and you can support our favorite woman-owned bookstore, Murder by the Book, as soon as the book drops. So here, I'm going to pop that link up. So no matter where you're watching from, Facebook or YouTube, you can order your copy right here and get a signed copy. And just to remind you, this is a really wonderful opportunity to get, this CIA analyst turned author with all this incredible praise. Perfect gift for yourself or for, family, friends. I order signed books. I stockpile my gifts all year round, and I save them for birthdays and Christmases. So I'm like, oh, this is for my Aunt Joan. She loves mysteries. This is for my cousin Caitlin. This is for my friend Gian. I order books all year round, and then I save them up. So this is your chance to get this signed book. It's a really wonderful gift for yourself or others. So grab it. Lynn is saying she can't wait to read this book. Thank you, Alma. Thank you, Lynn, for being with us today and for your questions and for ordering and reading and supporting. This is so great. Sherry is saying, this is so interesting. I love the spy genre. She started with the Mitch Rapp series, and she just started picking up all kinds of different ones. Excellent, Sherry. I love spy thrillers too. I guess I've learned today we're the rare ones, Sherry, you and me.
A little in the minority, yeah.
But I know that. Yeah, very cool to know. Sherry, thank you for letting me know. Oh, Megan would like to know, Alma, what are some of the comforts that you need for writing? Yeah, so are you curled up with a cup of tea, your cat or dog? Like, what do you need? Are you in a blanket? Just tell us.
Yeah, lately, I would say most of those things apply. We moved to a mountain in West Virginia a little while ago. So I work out of our guest house, which is wonderful, but it's usually chilly. So yes, I usually have a blanket wrapped around me, and I almost always have a cup of hot tea with me. So I have one with me now. So yes, those are all good things. If I'm really feeling indulgent, I might have some Snickers bars with me too.
Oh my gosh, I love Snickers. I also love Mounds. I love anything with coconut.
Wow.
Anything with chocolate. I mean, anything with salt. I just love food.
Me too.
Yeah. Alma, let's get back to some of this amazing praise, because I just want to dive into some of it and talk about the craft. So in this one, from Crime Reads, it says, Katsu paints a vivid picture of modern London at the intersection of a vast geopolitical game between Russia, its moneyed exiles, the British upper classes, and American intelligence. So first of all, congratulations on that. So Alma, did you have to research it a lot, or you still have your finger on the pulse of all of those, intelligence communities?
Well, I think one of the interesting things is what's at the heart of it, which is that in 1994, the British government created this new class of visa that allowed any foreigner to stay in the country if they invested a minimum of £750,000. And they did that at the time because England was in a severe recession, and it had just come out of another recession. And they were really afraid that the economy was going to just crash. So this was one way to bring new money into the country. But I was an analyst at the time. We were watching the Berlin Wall come down, and we were seeing what was happening to the former, Soviet Republic as it was disintegrating. It was close to what we call, term of art is basket case country. And that's a country that can no longer govern itself. So if you're old enough, you may remember the news where it was just lawless in Russia. There was no economy. People didn't know how they were going to feed themselves, what was happening next. There was, of course, the nukes thing, which is what a lot of governments were more focused on, what was going to happen to those nukes. But because I watched disruption and internal disruption in countries, I was watching what the what was happening to the economy, there was, widespread disease, illness, alcoholism, drug use. The country was literally falling apart, and we were all holding our breath to know if they were going to, how they were going to pull out of it. So fast forward now 20 years, and we see what happened. It's a kleptocracy there being run by the oligarchs and the administration, which is all came out of the KGB and security services are running the country. And it just makes for such a fascinating situation. I mean, I remember thinking about this in 1994 and thinking, what a great story this is.
Wow. So you were doing your job at the CIA, but thinking to your but your inner aspiring writer was germinating ideas like, oh, this would this would make a good
It's
book.
just
And
crazy.
now
And
here
you
we
wonder,
are, Alma.
yeah. And you wonder too, is this gonna come back and bite Britain in the end? You know what I mean? And it's taken 20 years, but it has. You cannot let a bunch of criminals come in and basically, control your country.
No. Wow. I could sit here and listen to you all day, Alma, because this is just, I love learning and this is so cool. Oh, hooray. Megan says she just ordered both books.
Oh,
Very
gosh,
cool.
thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Megan. And let us know what you think about it. Cause we love to talk about, obviously mysteries and thrillers, because that's where we are. That's what we love. And then we continue the conversation over in Mystery and Thriller Mavens, which is free and open to all of us, where we talk about our current reads, talk about the books that we learn about here. So here is that link for everyone. Go join Mystery and Thriller Mavens, where we can continue the conversation, and you can tell us, because you're going to need to talk about this. There's a lot happening in this book, and you're going to need people who are picking up what you're putting down. Y'all, I want to remind you that you can order your signed books today. I'm going to pop that link up one more time. So yeah, and Megan, I loved it what you said, that you ordered both books. So you can order Red London today, and you can order both. Again, Red London will be signed. So here is that link right now. And actually, we may be able to do a thing where I can get you a Mystery and Thriller Maven signed book plate. So DM me, Megan, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and I will see what I can do for that as well. Anyone who wants a signed book, DM me your receipt from Murder by the Book, and I'll make that happen for you. Okay, I missed some comments back here, so I just want to scroll back and make sure I'm getting everybody's comments. And I also want to talk about some of this other amazing praise, because I want to get to Kirkus's review as well, and I put it in here. And I put it in here, but they praise. I'm going to pop it up so we can all read it together. Oops, I popped up the wrong comment. There's so many, I'm missing them, but we're going to get to all of them.
We've been very lucky, very, very lucky. Yeah. Mark Graney gave us a great blurb. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
nice guy.
Yes. So Mark Greaney, another guy. So Mark, who is, let's look at his, let's kick off with his first, because he is the number one New York Times bestselling author of A Gray Man novel. And so let's pop his up first. So he says, an elegantly written novel of espionage reminiscent of the great Daniel Silva, well plotted, wholly credible, and enormously tense. Spy fiction fans simply must read this one. That, of course, is from Mark Greaney, the number one New York Times bestselling author of Burner, A Gray Man novel. And again, so fans of spy fiction, but also fans of true crime and domestic suspense will really enjoy this one as well. Publishers Weekly raves entertaining. Katsu knows her trade craft. A spy novel that focuses on relationships, women, and family as a refreshing change. Katsu should win new fans with this one. She sure will, and she will retain her fans from the first one. Hello, it's me. Is there anything that you wish that you want to tell us about this book, or your characters, or your research, or anything you wish I'd asked?
No, I think you've covered it all. I think the main thing that I hope, the message that'll get out there, is that I do think that it's the kind of book that will appeal to women who like to read suspense, domestic suspense, mystery. It's not, when you hear spy novels, sometimes people think it's, one of those action, thriller kind of things where it's just some beefy guy running around with guns trying to shoot people. I think there's a lot in there that women readers will find appealing. And yeah, so this has been great. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so great to host you, Alma, because I could literally, I mean, you could teach a master class on, how the geopolitical actions have impacted, have created, because I think we look at things and think, how do we get here? Why is this happening? How the heck is Putin still president? How is he invading Ukraine? It's a giant mystery. And you can say, well, actually, what we have to do is, back this boat up to 1994, and here's how we got here. And once you break it down and explain it to us, it's very understandable. So thank you for making that manageable for us, the lay people.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think,
I find it fascinating too.
Your ability to develop character and to go, because I love character driven novels. I mean, I like a book that keeps those pages flying, which of course you do, but I really want to get into understanding, who are these people? Why? I want to understand the why. Why would you do this? Even if something's so incomprehensible and someone's a serial killer, I'm like, but why? Why are you a serial killer? And so I want to understand. And I think, in both Lindsay and Emily, we really get to understand these, badass women. So
Right.
this is very cool.
It's important to me, and that's kind of something that you develop in the intelligence business, especially at CIA, which is about what we call human intelligence, right? It's getting information from human beings. And that's, you learn a little bit more maybe about psychology and how to read somebody and figure out what's motivating them, what's driving them to do this thing. And personally, as a reader, I don't like books that don't make sense, where you have a character that's doing something that nobody would do, and the author doesn't explain why that character's doing it. They just do it to further the plot. And so I really try hard to never have that in my books, that you understand the character, and so you understand why they're doing something. And then the whole thing feels complete and whole and real.
Exactly. And that's exactly the kind of books that I like to read. They have to make sense, because I'm always trying to understand people and understand how they got where they are, why they are the way they are, why they do the way they do, why they make the choices that they make. I have a deep need to understand and to get to the bottom of it. You get to the bottom of the mystery of every human. And so I think, and I don't like when, exactly what you said, the sense of it is sacrificed for the action. And I think that's why I love your book so much. I want to be in the shoes of the detective. That's why I love police procedurals. I want to be in there investigating. I want to go back to my Nancy Drew days. I want to be holding a magnifying glass metaphorically and investigating alongside. And so I was actually interested to see you say that, oh, this is more of a, to hear this described as more of a spy thriller, because to me it's a procedural. It's an intelligence procedural. It's a CIA procedural where you get to be in the shoes of Lindsay and investigating this case.
Yeah. I mean, it's second nature to me. When I think about a situation, I automatically think how it would unfold. This is how things would happen at CIA. These are the steps that you'd have to take. These are the things that people would be concerned about. All of the things that are sort of intrinsic to spycraft that may not be apparent to other people. That's the interesting thing about the intelligence business, is it has, it's a job like any other, but there's a bunch of additional things you have to worry about. You have to worry about cover. You have to worry about not revealing yourself just to the average person on the street. You learn about classification and how to protect classified information. Doesn't that sound like something that's been in the news? It's got all these other things, right, that you have to know. And for me, it's second nature, because I spent 35 years in the business, weathered a lot of changes. So it's funny. Like I said, these books are easy for me to write. Those historical horror novels are hard.
And I am also a historical fan, and I am obsessed with the Titanic. So I first met Alma while she was writing The Deep. And I was like, oh my God, she loves the Titanic. I love the Titanic. She loves, mystery, thriller, and horror. I love mystery, thriller, and horror. And so because I've watched all the Titanic documentaries, I've read all the Titanic books. I think about, like, can I get in that submarine and go down there without disturbing the graveyard of their things? I mean, I'm just so fascinated by it. So
Oh, well, you'll love this story. I don't know if I told you this when we talked before, but so the book, The Deep, has the Titanic and the Britannic in it, which was a sister ship of the line, which was also sunk, which was kind of the catalyst for coming up with the idea. Well, I thought about that when I saw this documentary, and the day that The Deep came out, I got an email from Simon Mills, who made that documentary, and he now owns the salvage rights to the Britannic. It hasn't been disturbed very much because it's in a very unnavigable strait. I guess that's why it sunk. But it was just such a wild thing. And he's such a nice guy and very helpful. And we still talk to this day. Yeah. So it's really funny. You never know where your books are going to take you.
Oh my God, that's so cool. You should offer to be his submarine co-pilot and go down there with all. You should just, like, selflessly offer, like, hey, if you ever need
I don't think I'd want to go down in the little sub, but I'll stand on the shore. It's in Greece. I'll stand on the shore and wave.
Oh my gosh, I would get down there in a New York minute. Sign me up. I want to go down there and be there and see it. But I also wrestle with the ethics of disturbing it, because it is a mass grave site where thousands of people died. So it's tough.
And he's very conscious of that too. And like I said, it's in a really hard place to do dives. So they don't actually dive too often to it.
Yeah. Well, because exactly as you said, it sunk because it's hard to navigate that stretch of sea. Oh my goodness. Well, Amakatsu, you remain one of my favorite writers and favorite people, and I loved Red London. I totally agree. I can't remember which critic said this is your best book yet. I completely agree, and I have loved all of your books. So congratulations on this, y'all. Order this book now, get a signed copy. And you know what? I am going to throw another log on the fire. I will buy another signed copy for a fan of this show, for a mystery and thriller maven. So be sure to let me know that you've watched today, comment, join the Mystery and Thriller Mavens group, and I will pick a winner. What's today? Monday. I'll pick a winner Friday. And the day that Alma's book comes out, the good folks at Murder by the Book, my partner in crime, will send you that copy. All right, y'all?
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, of course. That's what we have to do, Alma. We have to support women, authors supporting authors. All right, y'all. I will be back at 6 p.m. Central and 7 p.m. Central, 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern tonight with Amy Pellizzeri and Walter Mosley. So get yourself some refreshments, and I will see you then. Alma, come back when your next Red Hot book is out, okay?
Thank you so much. I will.
All right, y'all. See you tonight.